100 days is a milestone in politics, a time at which to judge the success or failure of a new leader's tenure. But could 100 days in absentia prove to be a politician's undoing? Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has been out of the country for more than that to seek treatment for an undisclosed illness. Many Nigerians are now calling for him to either resume duties or resign.
Where are the people that we call fathers? Why are you watching this nation go to ruin?
Protesters have been gathering in Lagos and Abuja throughout the month, demanding an explanation.
3 months, nobody's saying anything. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows what the problem is.
How do we know that the president is fit to continue in office?
Buhari first went to London in June last year for what his office said was a persistent ear infection. He went back again in January for nearly 2 months. On his return, he didn't resume work straight away and missed cabinet meetings and Friday prayers. He left for London again on May 7th for follow-up treatment, which is still ongoing. Amid the growing protest, Buhari held an audience with ministers at his London residence.
At least by the press, you are working very hard.
Looking frail, but in seemingly good spirits, Buhari insists he feels ready to return to Nigeria, but is waiting for his doctor to give him the all clear.
I live in London very elated, very excited, because we met our president in very good health. He has spoken to us, you know, we exchange banters, and I think we can't ask for more.
When Buhari came to power in 2015, he came in fighting. The former military ruler declared war on corruption. He announced early on in his presidency that the militant group Boko Haram had been technically defeated, and he oversaw the return of many of the abducted Chibok girls. But critics argue his corruption war hasn't been effective, and there has been a resurgence of Boko Haram. Just this Tuesday, at least 28 people were killed in attacks at a refugee camp at northeast Nigeria. It has raised concern that the president's absence could lead to instability. But the government says there's no power vacuum, and Buhari has left the country in good hands.
There is no time limit as to how long a president is allowed to be sick. So the president has done the needful. He has handed over authority to his deputy. He has complied with the constitution, and the government is running absolutely well.
But many Nigerians are concerned by the secrecy surrounding Buhari's illness and are sceptical whether he will get well soon enough to finish his term. Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.
To discuss this further, let's cross now to our panel, and I'm joined from Cambridge by Tunde Dardi, who is the Deputy Chairman of the ruling APC Party's UK chapter. From London, Kayode Ugundamisi, a Nigeria affairs analyst who is critical of the Nigerian government. And also from London, Nigeria counterterrorism expert Temitope Olodo. Let me start first in London with Kayode. First, tell us, why is there a problem here? If the vice president of a legitimately elected president takes over while the president himself is sick, why is it a problem?
It is a problem if you understand the configuration of Nigeria. Nigeria is made up of 6 geopolitical zones. There is tension within these geopolitical zones. And yes, the president has not done anything legally wrong. He has respected and obeyed the constitution by handing over to his vice president. But morally, can you say that Nigeria is in a complete state of stability when over 100 days, the elected president, who is the arrowhead of the mandate, cannot be seen close to the country, anywhere close to the country? And then the ruling APC has not been transparent enough in terms of what is actually wrong with the president. A president, a ruling party that is forthright with the people, would allow for an independent medical team to assess the president and let us know if the president is well enough to continue, if indeed is capable of recovering fully to take over the mantle of leadership. If he's not, he's a respected individual There's a need for the vice acting president to become a full president and appoint a vice president so that the country can prepare for elections that will be coming up in 2019, which is just a few months away.
A few years away. Okay, Tunde, why isn't your party, at the very least, just being transparent about the president's medical condition?
I believe that my party has been very transparent enough. Like Kayode has said, the president has followed due process of the Constitution by law, and that the fact that people are asking the president to tell them or the party to pronounce what actually the ailment or the health issue of the president are is something that shouldn't be a thing of concern, because the president as an individual has the right to seek medical attention. He's done the needful. He's handed over the baton of governance to the vice president, who is excellently doing well. The business of governance is going on smoothly, and I don't see reason why people are just clamoring for the president not to look after himself very well. And it's within his right to keep. It's within his right, and under the Protected Act and Confidentiality Act, for the president to keep his health issues to himself.
Okay.
Not until if he decides to say his consultant or medical teams, he directed them otherwise. But
okay.
As far as I'm concerned, right now the president is all right. The president is okay. He's just trying to listen to instructions from his consultants.
Okay. Temitope, I see you have some thoughts. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a bit surprised. I think we're all matured enough to know that equity will not allow the law to be used as an instrument of fraud. I have the greatest respect for Mr. President. We all wish him well as Nigerians. But I think my brother over there is quite not is economic with the truth when he says that the health of the president and what happens to him as #1 citizen is his private affair. It is not. He is in Nigeria, he is in the UK, on the courtesy of the Nigerian government. He's spending our money as taxpayer. Our planes are on standby for him. You know, that's our plane, that's our money. We deserve more. And I think he's also economic with the truth if he says everything is running smoothly. As we speak, you know, Boko Haram have used more women in the fight on terrorism than any other terrorist group in the world. 384, 244, 180 girls used for terrorist attack in January alone. You know, the corruption war, yes, it's being fought, but it's not being fought appropriately.
I'd like Kayode to pick up on that as well. What do you think is being compromised as a result of President Buhari being away for this long?
A lot has been compromised. Terrorism, the insurgents of Boko Haram in the north is as a result of the absence of the president. The military seems to be slowing down on the gains they've made. They captured 17 local governments, hitherto held by Boko Haram. The vice president is just seen as someone who does not really have the power, even though constitutionally is meant to have full presidential powers. So ministers don't even know what to do. They're waiting for the body language of a president who is out of the country. So the country is moving, but at an extremely slow pace. Contrary to the promise made by the ruling party, APC, which says instant change, revolutionary change for the country. And that is why it's important that there is need to be clear about the health of the president. Let me add one thing. What is happening within the ruling APC that used to be an opposition party is lack of courage. No one is courageous enough to go to the president and say, look, thus far no more. We respect you. The country admires you. There are many people on the street. If you look at the protesters, they were unable to gather enough people to storm the streets because Nigerians respect this president, but Nigerians are also realistic about their future, that the fate of the country would not be tied to the fate of the president. If they are not aware of what is wrong with the president, they don't know what the future lies for the country. And that is why it's important that someone within the ruling APC should be courageous to tell this to the president.
Kayode, let me ask you very quickly, though, how much longer would the opposition and critics of the president be willing to wait for his return?
I think the question is how much longer are Nigerians willing to wait? Because right now in Nigeria, there's nothing like an opposition
including
party.
Buhari's supporters
there's not
as well.
a lot of difference.
How much longer can this go on?
Yes, that is. I think the Buhari supporters are becoming much more vociferous about the absence of the president. I think people are writing more. If you go on social media, more Buhari supporters are asking questions now. I think by the time we do not see this president in the next 1 month, you would have more people demanding and asking questions, especially asking for the National Assembly, even if it means reviewing the Constitution. The presidency are taking advantage of the lacuna you have in the Constitution that gives any president, not just Buhari, the right to be away for the out of the country for as long as the time in which he was elected into his office. And this must change.
Okay, Tunde, let me ask you then. 1 month. Do you think the president can return to his office in 1 month's time and resume his work running the country? And if he doesn't, what political alternative will you be able to offer?
I believe the very first thing we have to be grateful to is that in recent weeks, the president has been seen receiving different holders of office in government, including his media team. And he has really spoken that, yes, he's all right, he's ready to return to work, but needs to take order from his physician. And at that, it's clear that in no time, the president might be back at his position. The other thing that I would disagree with Kayode and Temitope on is on the issue of the fact that things are slowing down because of the absence of the president. No, governance is a continuous process, and it is clearly written, and it is clearly seen that quite a lot of progress are being made on a daily basis. Quite a lot of governance activities are going on. The acting president has signed the budget. The acting president swore in ministers. The acting president has appointed replacement for permanent secretaries. The acting president is doing one thing or the other that is supposed to be done, even that is supposed to be done by the president. And by virtue of the mandate that brought them in, they are really working. So we need the president to be ill and healthy in order for him to be able to continue the challenges and that trust that is reposed on him by Nigerians. And I know that the president will never disappoint Nigerians because of the fact that he has the height of fighting corruption, which he has started. He has the height of curbing insurgents. He has the right, and is somebody who abides by the law, by constitution, and by beliefs in freedom and rights of individual Nigerians.
Okay, Temitope, let me ask you how confident you are that the president will indeed be back in action soon, as his party claims.
For me, I think it's important to highlight that I totally agree that some work is being done, but what we're saying is that everything is slowed down. In a normal democracy, what you normally have is that there's a free hand to do for the vice president or the acting president to work, but we all know on the ground that is not what is happening. However, that being said, I think it's important to state for the record that it's not how long it takes the president to come back. I think, like my brother Kayode mentioned, it's about the sincerity of the government in place to highlight that these are the challenges that the president is going through, and for us all to feel that the acting president is actually working with no hindrance. We all know that the acting president is not free to do whatever he wants to do. He still needs to report back. There are people that are still taking files to London for the president, even though he might not want to see those files, and the president is still seeing people from OPEC and other places. If he needs to relax, he should come back home to relax home, but not be seeing visitors in the UK and saying he's waiting for his doctors to give him a free bill of health to return back to Nigeria.
Tunde, I'll let you respond to that quickly. Is it just an issue of him feeling he has to listen to his physicians in the UK and not return home to recover in Nigeria?
I believe what Tokwe is saying is not the truth of the matter, that the acting president is not is being under restriction. That's not it at all. The vice president is doing what he's supposed to do according to constitution. Yes, definitely before some decisions are taken, you look at the pro and cons, and definitely you have to consult with the National Executive Council. You have to take the party's manifesto into consideration. You have to take a lot of things into consideration. Even the agitations here and there. And the thing is that the president has had his head come back to life, and definitely coming back, that means that for the president himself to be receiving visitors shows an instance that the president, there's not been anything hidden about the president health. Everybody knows that, okay, the president is unwell, but now recover, now all right. And he started receiving visitors and whole perspective. So definitely it shows that, well, we have to thank God first. We have to be grateful to God that the prayer of Nigerians is being answered based on that, and the president is ill and not it. But like the president rightly said, is waiting for clearance from his consultants.
Okay, Kayode, I saw you had a response. I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, Nigerians did not they didn't vote a medical doctor in the UK to decide when their president is fit or not fit. Nigerians voted for a strong man that everyone, almost the whole country, supported to govern and rule them. And if people don't even know what is wrong with him, how are we sure when he's going to come back? Even if he comes back physically looking okay, how are we sure he's mentally all right to multitask and deal with the difficult situations and conditions that is going, mirage of problems that is confronting Nigerians? There's a need for the APC, which used to be very loud and vociferous when it was in opposition in terms of accountability, to practice what they preached when they were in opposition. And a lot of us who support this government to come in need to ask the right question. And sometimes loyalty to the country is more important than the loyalty to a particular man. Nigerians do, of course, follow this president. They admire him, but they want to put their country first. And once there is transparency, Nigerians are quite forgiving. The fact that after 100 days, Nigerians are not out there on the streets shows the amount of respect they have for President Buhari. But they cannot be sort of taken for a ride for so long. From Kano, where the president has got a very long, large followership, people are asking critical questions. Where is the Buhari we voted for, who promised to fight corruption, hold looters to account, improve the economy, create employment and jobs for young people, and of course provide leadership for the country? It's important that the APC gets transparent and bring the president, the real situation of the president out to the Nigerian public. Okay,
let me ask Temitope, though. In the meantime, we're seeing these violent clashes break out between Buhari supporters and some in the opposition. How much violence do you think might be to come if he doesn't return, and how much will be tolerated?
Yeah, for a president to be out of his country 150 days out of 365 days is totally unacceptable. But we do understand that he has health issues that need to be addressed. And I think there is a tension that is growing. We know that the individuals responsible for the resign or return campaign have suspended their campaign in Abuja and moved it to Lagos. And we know that there is a brewing opposition here in the diaspora with over 10 million diasporans who might be calling and who were responsible, actually, even though they did not vote, for the removal of Jonathan through their campaign online. I don't think Buhari wants that same thing. And I think it's important to also highlight very quickly that David Cameron was not removed because he lost the election. He resigned honorably because the referendum did not go his way. So was the Japanese emperor, who decided to sit back because he was too old and unhealthy to rule. So it's honorable for him to leave that seat for somebody else if he thinks he's not fit for purpose. But we should not be ruled by cabal. And he needs to know that we all love him, we all support him, but there is need for him to resign if he cannot return back.
Okay, we just have a minute left. I'll give final words to Kayode and then Tunde. Kayode, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's quite important to be very clear to supporters or those who think the Nigerians who oppose the president oppose him as an individual. It's about the institution of the presidency and the importance and the need for Nigeria to move on. The danger of not managing this very well is that violent clashes such as you witness in Abuja might replicate themselves all over the country. And we don't want the health of the president, the health issues about the presidency to degenerate into civil clashes within the country. The president has got a large cult following in northern Nigeria, and pretty soon he will be seen as a north-south divide. And this is one thing the APC needs to manage properly.
Okay, Tunde, how much violence will be tolerated before the president or your party makes a call?
I believe that very, very soon the president will return. All I have to tell Nigerians is, the president has done the right thing. He's followed the great steps as enshrined within Nigerian constitution. Governance is being run the right way. And the only thing is that we have to be patient and calm for the president to come so that we don't turn Nigeria to a state of anarchy, a state where government tools can be used to curb violences. Give APC this chance to perform as we have promised. We are just 2 years, 3 months in government that has been totally in a deplorable, within a state of totally deplorable condition for over 16 years.
Understood.
I believe Nigerians should be calm. The president is coming back.
Okay, Tunde Dardi, we're going to have to leave it there with you. I'll give you the last word. Thank you so much for joining us from Cambridge. Kayode Ugundamisi and Temitope, both from London. Thank you so much for being on the Newsmakers.
Thank you.